Good evening, and you're very welcome back to another episode 19 of season 5 of the League of Iron Women's podcast here on finalwhistle.ie with myself, Breffney Early, and as ever, Aaron Clark joins me to talk all things League of Iron Women's Premier Division. It's been a busy week, return to action, 5 games Saturday, 1 game Sunday. It's been the week of the underdog, Aaron. We're going to be talking about referees, we're going to be talking about maybe goalkeeping. I won't call them howlers, but things that they won't want us to be talking about, essentially. It wasn't a good week for most goalkeepers in the league, although a few did stand out with some really impressive performances. But it was all about the underdogs. DLR, they beat Peamount United at home on Sunday afternoon in the Bowl, while Sligo had a really, really good first half performance against Galway. It didn't work out their way in the end. Galway ran right in the second half, scored 4 goals to win 4-2. But really, the result of the weekend, and you were at the game, Aaron, 3-1 for Bohs. Well worth their win over Shels.
100% value for the win. It's the best I've seen Bohs play in the league. They were just brilliant. The kids came alive, and it's probably a day that ex-Shelbourne players came back to haunt their old club in Talca Park, and it was a sun was shining. We had water breaks. We had everything. It was a great day and a great game of football.
Yeah, we don't tend to have a lot of guests on the show in recent months and maybe recent seasons because of just logistics and access and a whole lot of reasons. But a few of them got on the score sheet. Katie McCarran had 2. We spoke to her earlier in the season. 2 screamers. She doesn't really do average goals, does she?
She's just a baller.
Yeah, another one, of course.
And the thing about it is you're talking about our goals, but our overall play is just second to none. And like, what a way to celebrate your birthday, scoring 2 goals. Couldn't be any better for him. I also thought young Hannah Healy as well had a massive performance. Like, you have things, a lot of pressure on the likes of Katie, Hannah. These are the players who've left Shelbourne and gone to Bohs and come back and play in Talca Park. Sometimes players who do that can crumble. But these definitely stood up as they were a shining light for an Underdogs who are making me eat my own words a little bit.
You like to taste the humble.
I've said for so many weeks, and I said it last week as well, I couldn't see anybody beating Shelbourne or beating Shelbourne or Athlone by themselves. But for me, it was Bohs' best league performance by a mile. Probably the upset of the year for me. But they were full value for it. They were the deserving. And like, when we talk about the game in detail, like, they just ran Shels off the park.
Yeah, of course, it started not great from a Bohs point of view. But sorry, let me start that again. It started not great from a Shels point of view. A bit of a mistake. We talked about goalkeeper howlers. Amanda McQuillan is not going to want to watch that first goal back. I think she kind of got caught in about 3 different options, and it just didn't happen for her. And her pocket was picked by Hannah O'Brien, and that was the end of that.
Breffney, how many times have we seen this happen in the last number of weeks?
It's been a few. It's not the first time yet.
It's happened by 2 goalkeepers 2 weeks in a row. It happened to a defender the week previously in the FAI Cup. It's unforgivable, and that's being honest with you. It was howler is probably being nice, because it was the most silly, bizarre moment, and like, we've seen keepers, and like, all she had to do was clear it when the pass came back to her. Just get rid of it.
As a member of the Keepers Union, I feel like I have to defend her here a little bit, because that's easy saying from a distance 2 or 3 days after the event, watching the highlights back. It's very easy to do that. She won't have wanted to do. She didn't plan to do what she did at the weekend.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And the pressure from O'Brien was probably, she wasn't expecting that. And all of a sudden, O'Brien appears under pressure, time poor, and just makes a mistake. It just happens. But the coolness of O'Brien to pop up and force the turnover and force the goal was pretty impressive. I
think that's a second goal. And another ex-Shelbourne player as well, again, on the score sheet. Like, yeah, it was when it happened, you started thinking, "Ooh, interesting! What a start for Bohs!" And like, you're thinking as the game goes on, Shels are sort of grown into it a little bit, and then you're sort of like, okay, Jess Gargan equalised with a nice header, gets over the top of the defender from Mackenzie Anthony. You're thinking, okay, game back on. Then Bohs are sort of like, nah, not today. And that's where like most.
Which goal for you was the highlight? Because Katie McCarron's 2 goals. The first one, she drags it back from the end line, goes past 1 or 2 kind of half challenges in the box, and really just pulls a phenomenal effort into the far corner. Gave McQuillan no chance. The third
I don't know about that. It wasn't necessarily in the corner. I don't think it was in the corner. I don't think it's right in the corner.
I think it's
I'm not saying McQuillan's at fault. McQuillan is definitely not at fault for that goal. For me, Kiva Keenan's at fault for both. Kiva Keenan's at fault for both of these goals.
Okay, in terms of the
defending for the first goal by actually letting Katie come all the way back from the byline, all the way out to the edge of the D, and strike it, and then she's just so far away from Katie when the ball is played over the top for the third goal, and
nobody's expecting that pass. Like that pass doesn't happen in the normal world. For Hannah Healy to find her with that range from that pass, that's a little bit special too. Let's be honest.
That's players who play together, know what their teammate is going to do, play together underage. It's an absolute sublime ball, but like Hannah Healy gets past, I think it's Pearl Slattery too easy to sort of create that bit of space herself. And she just has one look up and she sees Katie's over the far side in an acre of space, and it's like, I'm going to play. Now, I'm going to say this. Initially watching it live, I thought McQuillan was poor for the goal in the sense of she could have been quicker off her line. When I watch it back, it's a little bit further wider than it initially was. So when I look at it back, I'm like, okay, I understand why maybe she didn't make that move and go for it. But for Shels, the biggest thing for me is there's 2 things that I took from this is Shels without Alex Kavanagh are a completely different team. Bohs just random riot in midfield. Bohs dominated midfield, and that was the key to it. They dominated midfield. They kept Shels having to sort of try and force things. Like look at the second half, and you said to me before we started, you said that Rachel Kelly had one of her better games. She made a good she made a good save right after half time. But she didn't. She done some stuff in the first half. She didn't do an awful lot in the second half because she didn't have to, and that's a credit to.
She got a great save from Noelle Murray in the second half.
Murray, at the start of the second half. But after that, she didn't do an awful lot, and that's a credit to Bohs midfield and Bohs defense, because when have we ever seen a Bohs team come up against Shels and not be under the cosh where Shels are pushing? Like. I said to you when Bohs lost 7-2 to Shels, like Bohs had that many chances that it could have been a completely different game. You look at this game and you look at the save that Rachel Kelly made from Mackenzie Anthony. When Mackenzie Anthony, it's 1-1 at the stage. Mackenzie Anthony's through on goal, and Rachel stands up tall. And Mackenzie sort of puts it straight at her. That's a massive puts it towards her. I mean, that's a big difference. That's 2-1 Shelbourne. It's a completely different game. Kelly makes that save. Not long later, McCarron goes up the other ends. For me, I just think Bohs are starting to find that groove, find that sort of momentum. Like we sort of said at the start of the I said at the start of the year, it was a big year for Alvin Heise. There was pressure taking that Bohs job because Bohs haven't delivered in the sense of what they've done in the league. They haven't delivered. They've huffed and puffed. They've had some opportunities where maybe finished 5th or 6th, but they've never sort of broke in and had that big year. Whereas this is probably a bit of a coming of age party for them. But the big thing is this result is only very good if they go and back this up, winning this weekend. Can they beat Shels again when they play in the All Ireland Cup semi-finals? This is where Bohs have to go and back it up and sort of turn around and be like, okay, we can compete against these teams. I was really impressed by Bohs. Spoke to Katie and Lisa Murphy after the game. Lisa Murphy would just die for that Bohs jersey. It's never been so more evident. She walked in, you could see she was struggling with a bit of a niggle. Walked in, still played 90 minutes, hobbling in nearly into the ground. Still played 90 minutes. Didn't want to let her teammates down, and Katie as I say, what a way to celebrate a birthday. You know, two goals, superb. Like I just felt it's not that Bohs wanted it more, but Bohs just got on top. And even though Wearing said after the game, he said if Shels played the way they played against Bohs, against Peamount, they could go over and get turned over again.
Yeah, it was a rough one. Let's talk before we finish this game and move on to something else. There was one incident which I'm surprised they left in the highlights, to be honest. I did see it live. I watched the second half of nearly every game. The way they were spread out over the weekend, I kind of got caught the second half of every game last weekend. And this I saw at the time, and I was like, well, what the hell just happened there? McQuillan, and I don't want to be going all in on Amanda. That's not really fair, but just this incident caught me by surprise. She caught a ball. And instantly went to throw it out, threw the ball, flipped on it like a sixpence, and there was a coming together of her and a Bohs player. I can't quite make out which Bohs player it was from the video. I think it might be Emma Gockin, but I'm not 100% certain. Around just on the hour mark of the game in the LOITV version of it. But nothing happened. There was no free, there was no nothing. It's left in the highlights, amazingly. I don't quite know why, because they normally cut anything contentious out of the highlights. Your thoughts on that? You probably might not even have seen it.
It's something that she sort of has a bit of a habit doing. Yeah, it's one of them that.
It's about 320 in the highlights. If you're,
did she mean it, or the question is, did she mean it, or did? But like, it's one of them that you probably say she probably frustrated.
Yeah, there might have been something said by the Bohs player. There might have been a coming together earlier in the game that wasn't included in the highlights, or maybe they just don't like each other. You never know.
Yeah, I'm just watching it there. It's quite a bit of a.
It's surreal, like it's unnecessary.
But the only thing I'm gonna watch it back once more. I want to give you an opinion on something that I'm just looking. Like, does the Bohs player sort of? As much the Bohs player runs into her then after the first initial, so I think this is.
If you watch it, there's a really quick turnaround. That, like, both of them know that.
The turnaround, and then she sort of has a bit of a go, and then the Bohs player has a bit of a go back. It's handbags. One of them. It's handbags.
Yeah, it's absolute handbags, but it's still an unnecessary. Like, do you know what I mean? Just like
it's frustration. It's frustration.
I've seen penalties given for less. Is all I would say on that. And as a former goalkeeper, it's just stupid. Do you know what I mean? There's no point engaging with an opposition player. You're in possession. Why would you bother? You've defended the opportunity. Like, I just wouldn't bother. Anyway, that's probably a bit the last. We'll give Amanda McQuillan a break for the next 15 minutes or so, because we've given her a bit of a raw deal for the last 10 minutes or so. Undeserved, can't really say, but it just wasn't one of her finer performances. Let's talk Rachel Kelly though for a minute, because Rachel, she's the captain of Bohs, and I think the captaincy has almost affected her performances, and I don't know if it's a direct correlation, but the captaincy has kind of seemed to bring her performance.
Right, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
No, we're not having this conversation. And the reason why I'm going to say that to you is Rachel Kelly was captain of Bohs when Rachel Kelly got into the team of the year.
Okay.
She was captain of Bohs. She's been captain of Bohs for the last number of years.
Okay.
What I'll say to you is I agree with you. She hasn't had the best of last 12 months, where she's made mistakes that maybe or had performances that maybe drop below her standard. Absolutely don't think it's nothing to do with the captaincy, but there has been times, I'll agree with you, where she's dropped the performance.
I thought she was exceptional at the weekend. I thought she was really,
she was superb at the weekend. She was superb at the weekend. Didn't make team of the week though.
I haven't even looked at the team. I've given up looking at the team of the week.
Megan
I picked it from
Athlone. Was the goalkeeper.
I don't hate it. I'm just bringing it up here in front of me as well, so I can have a quick look at it. But
do you know what? It's funny is, like, in these sort of games, you sort of like look at like even who do you interview after these games and stuff like that. Like, you could see Rachel was delighted with the performance. Rachel was delighted with the result. I think Rachel's character, to me, I think Rachel's one of the really, really good captains in the league. I think her character, you can definitely see that Bohs group of players have such a togetherness, like you would see with a lot of the Shelbourne players, with the Shelbourne group. I think she's a really, really good goalkeeper. When Bohs play well, she tends to play well.
Yeah. I think there's a few people who can feel a bit hard done by not to be in that team. If I'm looking at it right now, I'm only looking at the first time in the fly, but I think Trace Knievy impressed me for Galway at the weekend. I thought she had a really, really good game. She could be in with a shout there. I thought Lauren Walsh, we'll talk about her a bit more in later conversations, but I thought for me, the clash she had with Fiona Bradley at the weekend.
Lauren Walsh is in the team of the week.
No, I know, but I'm saying I thought she's well worth that place. I thought she was excellent. I thought she came out. Michelle Doonan, arguably one of DLR Waves' best players. Not sure whether she's team of the week material this week, if that makes sense. I only saw bits of the game. I saw the second half. She wouldn't have been my selection, is all I'll say. But at the same time, based on her performances this year, for little to no reward with DLR, has probably been their best performer week on week. So can't really argue with her being in there. But I don't know if I would have had her in the selection.
You know, I also wouldn't have argued if there was 4 or 5 Bohs players in it either.
Yeah, Hannah Healy can probably feel unlucky not to not be in there. Rachel Kelly definitely. There's a few others like this. We all know this gets kind of picked a little bit politically, a little bit based on who scores rather than actually who plays well. But yeah, it is what it is. Let's talk about a different game. We'll move across the capital, maybe. We'll go with Shamrock Rovers down in Treaty. This was, of course, the game that was on live on TG Car on Saturday night. Decent game, if kind of uninspiring, but some solid performances from both sides. Entertaining enough, but kind of forgettable. 2-1 win for Shamrock Rovers in the end.
I didn't think it was gonna be a game that really hit the sparks or hit the floodlights. Like when they played earlier in the season, the 4-1 game, I think the conditions probably made it a bit more of a game than it was. Like even when you look at a Treaty sort of coming into off the back of a heavy defeat against Shels, I thought it'd be difficult for them to get something out of it. When they look back at it, the goals they conceded, they'll be very disappointed. I think we're starting to see an awful lot more set play goals coming into the league and defendable set play goals coming into the league as well. And I think Treaty were another victim of that. Scarlett Heron with a brace
of headers from set pieces as well. Like it's
I think Colin O'Neill will be happy. I think Colin O'Neill will be happy with the fact that they just got the win. I think it was an important win for Shamrock Rovers. I think for Treaty, they're going to be thereabouts with these sort of teams, and if they can tidy up on their set plays, there's no reason why they can't be beating these teams. We chatted off air about Bella Flacini's goal.
Yeah,
you're not 100% convinced. She meant it.
She's had enough absolute crackers from distance that you'd give her the benefit of the doubt, but I think she wanted to put it back in the mixer. I'm not so sure.
It's nearly like Megan Smith-Lynch just the week before.
Yeah.
Where it's 100% across.
I don't know if it's 100% across because she's dead center of the goal. Like
no, I'm talking about Megan's one last week's 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
where Flacini just is a hooker back in.
Yeah, and she's putting it back in and it just ends up the back of the net. But
she'll tell you she meant it.
Of course, everyone will tell you. If I scored it, I tell you I meant it as well. I just thought Treaty were well worth more than the defeat. I think they could have easily got here. They hit the crossbar early on. Just very unlucky. I thought Lisa Toomey again impressed me as a really good, solid performance from her between the sticks. And I'd be disappointed to see Treaty lose that. I've been really impressed with them this season. And again, Shamrock Rovers probably well worth the win as well. Like, I mean, it's
small margins.
Yeah, it's really small
margins.
It's great that we're talking about that rather than like 7, 8, 9, 10-0 defeats like we were 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. The league is competitive now, which is phenomenal.
Right. I might walk away for a second because I'm going to get in trouble when I want to say next. Not that I'm going to get in trouble. What I'm going to say next. You're going to give me abuse. What I'm going to say next.
Don't get a suit. That's all I'd say.
I'm not. Shamrock Rovers are 1 point off third place.
Where did you say you'd finished up?
7th.
Yeah. Humble pie. I have it. It's in the oven. It's trying to go get this slice. It's been a solid second period of the second kind of third of the league from them. A couple of decisions they've made this year are a little bit strange. I wasn't a massive fan of bringing Rowesha in at the time. I don't think it worked out for anybody. I saw a couple of articles this week in the media about Rowisha's impact in the league and what it says about the league, the fact that she's gone after 100 days, I think that's all bunkum. I don't think her arrival or departure says anything about the league really, other than it just suited her at the time.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to take it away from Rusha for a second. Okay. When Heather O'Reilly come into the league,
I thought it was a gimmick.
Okay. When she's no disrespect to Rusha, she's a much bigger name, right? When Heather O'Reilly come into the league,
I don't know if she is a bigger name in the context of what they're trying to get out of it, because Heather O'Reilly's a big name in world women's soccer, but an average Irish football fan or sports fan might not necessarily have ever heard of Heather O'Reilly. I know for a fact most people I spoke to had never heard of Heather O'Reilly. Her record is impressive, but the actual name, literally no name recognition outside of hardcore women's football fans.
Yeah, so how many? The other side of it is, and this is another thing is, how many people would actually know who Rusha Littlejohn is?
I think
outside of women, like when I'm talking about Shamrock Rovers, outside of women's football.
I think she'd have a much higher profile. I think her former relationship would have helped in that respect. She's
I don't think women's footballers in this country are as well known as people maybe think.
Well, I think there is one, which of course is Katie McCabe, and Rowisha's relationship with Katie McCabe would have lent, and she's funny. How many of her videos have gone viral, interrupting interviews, having a bit of fun? I think she has a higher profile than a lot.
What I'm saying is yes, but it's not a case of bums on seats. She was never going to be a case of bums on seats. It might be
eyeballs on internet videos, and her highlights package would clue that. Now, we'd say this: she didn't score in any game they won. Any game she scored in, they didn't win. So, at any game she got booked in, they didn't lose, which was a bizarre record. But yeah, it was really, really weird. Her record, it didn't work out from a footballing point of view. One or two highlight reel additions aside, it didn't really work out for anybody. Let's be honest. Didn't put bums on seats for Rovers. It didn't put points on the league table. In fact, they've probably won more points since she's left than they, on average, than when she was there. I could be wrong in that, but my initial thing would be that they've won 3 games since she's left. 2 games out of 2 in the league since she's left. 100% record. So, albeit over Treaty and Cork, which they would be expected to win, but that's still the record, you know. And I just don't think it's worked. I think Shamrock Rovers, as a project, I like their style of play. I like some of their players. I think they made a couple of, we've talked about at length, we're not going to bring it up again, but they made a couple of big mistakes very early on before they even kicked the ball, in terms of some of the utterances that came out of Rovers and what they were saying.
Does what they done with Rusha Littlejohn not resemble the exact same thing nearly of, you know, let's try this again. But like for me, I think Collie O'Neill with a younger group, it just reminds me a lot of Collie O'Neill with UCD when he had the likes of Sloggett, O'Neill, who were only coming through, them sort of players, Dara O'Connor, when they were only coming through UCD as youngsters, and sort of help to hone and shape them. And I think he has the ability to do that as well with some of the younger Shamrock Rovers players as well. And yes, they need experience, they need bodies around them. But I think
if Collie can keep the group together, or the nucleus of the group together, because these girls are all 19, 20, 21. If he can keep them for 3 to 4 years, they could win 3 or 4 league titles in their mid to late 20s, if as a group. But what worries me is the fact that you're looking at the players who have left the club in the last couple of years. And I'm talking about the younger prospects, the Katie Keens, who's just left this month or last month. At last season, we saw girls going to Nottingham. Jessica Hennessy, went to Nottingham from Shamrock Rovers, and there've been a few others.
I would say the Abby Larkin and Katie Keane transfers concern me more than Jessica Hennessy one, just for the simple fact that if they're getting players in, even if they're youngsters in on a pretense that we'll make an agreement that you can go with certain clubs or certain opportunities, to me that's sending the wrong message out, and I'm sure that's probably frustrates Collie, because Collie's like, yeah, grand, let me go build here, let me go and see what I can do here, because there's no doubt about it. Collie has great pedigree in terms of building a player and helping to develop and mold a player into a really good player. But I just think Shamrock Rovers need to be careful on how they give them the tools. Are they just going to give them the tools where it can be just yanked out under them from at the next minute? I think that's not the right approach if Shamrock Rovers want to be successful in this league.
But you have to look as well, if you're bringing in the likes of Risha as an inspiration in the dressing room, you don't have to leave the dressing room to find inspirations in that side. Like Anya Gorman's in that dressing room every day for training. She's probably the first one there, last one to leave, if she's anything like she was when she was a teenager. And Steph Roach the same. Do you know what I mean? Like on the coaching staff, recently on the playing squad, and Anya in the playing squad, these girls have all of the experiences and more that Risha Littlejohn brings to the equation.
And then you're looking at other players. You're looking at other players in who've probably played a hell of a lot of minutes since 2020. Like you're talking the likes of Fiona Owens, Scarlett Herons, players who would have maybe been at loan starting in the league, sort of coming through and playing a lot of minutes. So they've got players there who've got plenty of experience. I just think if you're going to bring players in, they have to be able to be, bring your team forward. Whereas I thought at times, apart from where Russia scored quality goals, she played a couple of good passes, but the body just couldn't handle anymore.
Let's keep it on with the underdog theme. Sligo Rovers opened up a 2-0 lead, should I say, early on against Galway over in Eamon DC Park. 2 goals from Annie McKinley. New arrival to the club a week ago. It's a dream start if you sign for a new club and you put them up not 1 but 2-0 in the first 30 minutes against your local rivals, essentially in the Connacht Derby. What a dream start. Didn't quite end like that. Galway did run out 4-2 winners in the end and were well worth the win over the 90 minutes. But really, really impressive start to her bit of red career.
If you're Steve Feeney, you're extremely frustrated.
Yeah.
Go in 2-0 up at half time and then within 60 minutes within the first 63 minutes, within the first 18 minutes of the second half, you can see the 3 goals.
Two of them to
Emma coming back to haunt her old club, getting her 7th and 8th league goals.
How good was her header though? The third goal for Galway, the lead goal, ball comes across from the left hand side, and Doherty kind of reaching for it, but pushes it back across and just inside the far post. A fabulous header from her.
Superb, and that's what she's capable of. And that's what she's capable of. And she's sort of showing glimpses at her time with Sligo, what she could do. And that's why Galway went all out and we're like, yeah, we need to get her. And like we've sort of had the conversation about, is it going to be herself? Is it going to be Quayla Berg? And I think she sort of nailed that master colours to say she's the number 1 striker in Galway. Herself and even you can even see with players like Amanda Smith coming off the bench, sort of helping to impact as well. But there's no doubt about it for me. Emma Doherty's number one striker in Galway at the minute, and she's truly shown that for Phil Trill that she's gonna get goals, she's gonna perform. And I think from a Galway viewpoint, with what transpired at the weekend, it was a really important comeback, because with Shels losing, and then as we'll speak about with the Wexford result, they're up to 3rd place at the minute, and I think that was a big one. They still have the game. They obviously still have the game in hand over Wexford, where they could extend that gap out to 3 points. Like, I think for Galway, if Galway could finish in the top 3 this year, it'd be a really successful year.
Yeah, and of course, no Lindsay McKee for them at the weekend either, or no Aisling Meany, who didn't make the match squad, which I found a bit strange. I don't know if she's available or injured or maybe away at the moment, but I was surprised not to see them involved. But I've been really impressed with Galway. They never ever seem to quit. Like, do you mean 2-0 down? It can be very easy at halftime to come back out a bit demoralized and go, "Oh well, we'll get this the next time." But it's a big move for Phil Trill. It really puts out a kind of a, like we saw Shels go behind and not manage to bring it back. Galway seem to always have that extra gear. Now, albeit against a team that's been struggling this season, but it's never easy to come back from 2-0 down to turn around a game like that.
I also think Niamh Farrelly's been a really, really important player for them lately.
Yeah,
I think Farrelly's been very, very good for them lately. For me, the one thing I will say is it's the conversation we've had a number of times. Like, if you have the option to bring on Avian Donnelly, Rola Olasolo, Amanda Smiths, you've got some really, really good players that you're bringing off your bench who can impact and go for. I think when they still look back, that result against Shels a couple of weeks ago in the FAI Cup is probably one that still probably stings a little bit, but it showed the same mentality that you're talking about, that they just kept going. They didn't get over the line that day, but they created chances. And I think that's when it comes to Galway, maybe they won't want to give 2-0 leads again anytime soon, but it was a really good second half display from Galway to score the 4 goals.
With Shels losing, do they have a chance of hitting that second place? Could they even challenge for the title? You've said no to this question before, but your thoughts now?
Answer still no when it comes to the league title. Like they're 9 points behind Athlone. Still don't. I still think that's a massive gap to still bridge. Still have to play Athlone once. Then again, Athlone have a run of games. I think if they are to do it, I think they need to beat Athlone this weekend.
Okay.
No if, buts, or maybes. If they beat Athlone this weekend, it makes it interesting. But it all comes. This Saturday is a massive game for them.
Okay. And from a Sligo point of view, their new arrival, of course, popping up with those 2 goals, looked very solid defensively, despite the 4-2 result. Bonnie McKiernan was decent in goal. I was very impressed with Annie McKinley for the majority of the game. Very little you could do about most of the goals. I think Olasola had a really good. She robbed the ball at the last minute to feed Amanda Smith, or to play the ball into Amanda Smith for that goal. It was really good work from her defensively in midfield to do that. Belichic with a touch at the back post as well to kind of bring it level. But more set piece goals for Sligo. Where do they go from here? Are they like getting onto their American contacts now and saying we need a couple more of you, like we saw with Athlone over the years? Bring your friends from college.
Yeah, potentially. But then you also got like there another American on the bench who's not really playing for them either, in Morgan Burnap. For me, if they can get goals, I think they can win games. That's been probably their biggest thing. The defensively, like look at the performance against Peamount, they were solid defensively against Peamount. Like the problem is the gap between themselves and Galway is massive. Yeah. You know what I mean? The gap between themselves and Galway is massive. I think for the likes of them, like they've got Waterford, so they got Wexford this weekend, then their next 2 league games are against Waterford and Cork. They're 2 games that they have to be fancy and picking up 6 points in. They're the sort of games that Steve Feeney has to be looking, okay, we need 6 points in them games. It'll be difficult. It'll be difficult for them. It's going to be a bit of a stop-start next couple of weeks, obviously, with the fact of the FAI Cup and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's an interesting. Can they get any more players in before the end of the window? Potentially. But it's been a difficult year for them. They've had some good results. They've also had some bad moments. I think for them, if they can continue to learn, continue to sort of grow, that's all Feeney can really ask them. Mirren Devaney not involved. Was she in the weekends?
Leitrim played on Sunday in the qualifier, the relegation playoff against Mayo, beaten by 7 or 8 points, I think, in the end. So
she should be back with them then next week.
Yeah, I'd imagine she'll be back with Rovers going forward. It was a pretty big game for Leitrim, to be fair, at the weekend. In terms of, actually, I don't even know if she played for Leitrim, but I presume she did. I didn't see the team sheet in the Leitrim game. Wexford at home against Athlone Town. 2 goals from Emma Mooney, name you probably haven't heard of because she's one of the youngest players to ever score in the League of Ireland. Not the second youngest, as Athlone claimed on Twitter during the week. We think she's the 4th. We think Madison McGrath scored a younger, Hannah Saidi, both obviously from Treaty. Hannah Saidi is the youngest. Then 3 days older than her, Hannah Healy. Madison McGann a couple of months older, and then a day or 2, maybe a couple of days older, Emma Mooney. Still an impressive. Definitely the first to score 2 goals in the one game. First one to score a brace, the youngest to score a brace. So
just to answer your question, Warren Devaney did play for Leitrim today. Yes, impressive. Should the first goal have counted is my question. I said this. I think it was a high full. It was a nice finish. Wexford had chances in the game, especially with it at 0-0. I think from an Athlone viewpoint, this game was massive.
Bananas.
You're sitting in the afternoon. You're sitting literally in the dressing room, probably. And the question I would ask is, has Colin, because by the time they come in and finish their warm up, Shels is over. Has Colin Fortune given them the news? Because if they haven't got the news that Shels have been beaten, and they, it's one of them that it's like they just want to keep pace. But if they got told Shels have been beaten, it's probably an interesting. Maybe not necessarily possible.
I don't think it matters. I think at that level, you're only looking at you genuinely. I know it says a soundbite.
You should be,
but you're only looking out for your own. You get the information, but I don't think it changes your mindset. You're still going out to win the game, be as professional as you can. And I think the collection of players we've seen in Athlone in recent seasons kind of will replicate that. Speaking of, before I forget about it, speaking of friends from college and Athlone town players over the years, Dana Sheriff has appeared back in Europe. She's transferred from Brooklyn, and she's now with Slavia Prague. Probably looking forward to this month's Champions League games, or next month's Champions League games might be at this stage in just 2 weeks' time. So that's an interesting move.
It's just a shame Athlone couldn't get her back.
She'd have made a huge difference. Not that they're struggling in the attacking sense.
Could you imagine an attacking? Could you imagine her and Brady up top together?
Yeah. Yeah, with Gibson and Malloy on the flanks, like it'd be criminal what they do to teams in the League of Ireland.
Come here, I hope this is wrong, right?
Okay.
I really hope it's wrong, but it looks as though it is wrong. FAI Connect has the attendance for that game as 56.
For the Athlone game?
For the Athlone and Wexford game. Now, obviously, we can't see in front of us.
I don't know.
But it has an attendance of 56.
Well, now I'm looking. Oh, that's the wrong game. Let me just have a quick look at the
main stand. Looks pretty empty.
Yeah, it does. But again, that's a problem. That's a problem the league hasn't really looked at. I know we went in a bit of a rant 2 weeks ago about that sort of stuff. I don't think the clubs are well enough resourced or backed to run that type of thing efficiently, if that makes sense. I think
I had to laugh. Right? In Talca Park on Saturday.
Yep.
They never announced the attendance.
Was there many there?
607. They announced the attendance. They never announce it. But like for me, that's a decent crowd. But
like 6 or 7 people. I know it sounds small when you compare it to what's happening down the road in Croke Park from Talca, Germany, with like 80,000 people at a hurling match or a football match or whatever it might be. But in reality, you try gathering 600 people for anything. Like
there was a good Bohs crowd. There was a good Bohs crowd at the ones as well. Now, come here. I'm going to be honest with you. I was in Talca Park from about 1:30 on Saturday for a 4:00 kickoff. I had to pay for parking. That'll tell you how mental it was, even people getting around the area. So to get 600 fans into Talca Park on Saturday, considering it was an absolute deluge, there was cars being left everywhere by Gaelic football supporters trying to get into Croke Park. So to get 600 fans into there, to me, it's a big one. Like the one thing I'd like to see is I'd love to see Shels capitalise on the likes of Shels play at home against Shamrock Rovers the same day Oasis play in Croker. Capitalise on that. Get some offer the use of the bar, free match ticket, come and buy some points in the bar, get people in the door. You know what I mean? I'd love to see Shels capitalise on that and sort of push that and try and get a bit of a crowd through the door, because
maybe they could wear Bohs jerseys. That would annoy Shamrock Rovers. You could get the Shamrock Rovers fans in just for that. I can't see Shels agreeing to that either, to be honest.
No, I was in Sports Direct today actually, and they're actually selling Oasis t-shirts. Not necessarily Bohs jerseys. They're actually selling just Oasis t-shirts. I was like, it's an interesting one.
As a matter of interest, how much for an Oasis t-shirt in Sports Direct?
I didn't even look.
Be interesting to see if they're actually legitimate. I'd imagine they are if they're actually on the shelves of a legitimate company. But I know because I bought a t-shirt at a gig recently. It was 40 quid, and I was a bit like,
no gigs this week for you, no?
No, taking a weekend off. Taking a weekend off.
See, listen, I'm even being nice to you. I'm even showing up today on the day of my birthday. Like,
oh, happy birthday! You didn't mention that one.
I know it didn't. I said I was going to drop something on you.
You look great for 55, though. I must say.
Thank you, over.
Yeah,
€24.
€24. That's not too bad. Waterford and Cork, they faced each other in the Munster Derby. It was a bit of a derby weekend all over the country, but this one was an entertaining game, end to end, plenty of chances. Maybe not the best to defend in at times, but 3-1 in the end for Waterford. There were some really impressive performances, I thought, in this game. Some very dubious refereeing decisions. We might talk about one or two as well. But for me, the battle of the game was between Fiona Bradley and Lauren Walsh. They just seemed to match each other exceptionally well. Both did get on the score sheet as it happens, but I just thought that battle was probably one of the most entertaining matchups I've seen in the league this season. Both well able to give it to each other and just really go hell for leather at it. I was just really impressed by both players, as amongst others across the entire fixture.
So where do you want to start?
Let's start with the goals. Fiona Bradley, a couple of opportunities early on. She took the first one, missed one or two after that. Defending won't be too happy with how that goal happened, but I suppose at the same time,
I think goalkeeper won't be too happy either with how the goal happens, especially conceding through your legs at the near post. Definitely won't be happy. Even when you talk about goalkeeping, I think there was a moment even in the Shels game where Rachel Kelly went with her feet as well rather than going with her hands. It was one of them. I think.
It was very weird. It was a very, very weird effort from Kelly to save it with her feet, but she kept the ball out, so she did her job.
I don't think Williams would be too pleased with the first goal. Like we can't really. I'm not going to turn around and say criticize Maeve Williams because Maeve Williams has bailed out, has put in some unbelievable shifts this year for that Waterford team. It wasn't the finest of moments. If I'm Cork City, I'm probably a little bit disappointed that I didn't capitalize on some of them chances that you said to go up even further ahead. Equalizer. When Cork look back at when Cork look back at the goals, you can see it. I think they'll sort of look at some of them as being preventable.
Yeah, absolutely. The first
pick of the goal is probably pick of the Waterford goals is probably Lauren Walsh's goal for me. I think.
I think again we see the first one. I was quite impressed with a long ball from Lauren Walsh. Caught the defense out, and Chloe Atkinson got in ahead of the goalkeeper, touched it by her, stumbled but managed to keep her balance, and then just stroked it home.
Yeah, I thought Claudia Fitzgerald maybe wasn't the best of that.
That's fair.
I didn't think when Fitzgerald comes when she comes that far out, you sort of have to get it. You're in a bit of a no man's land there. You either give a penalty away, you get it, or you potentially get yourself in a bad position there. And I think I don't necessarily think she was fully committed to the challenge. Probably unsure what to do, whether to go down, whether to stay up, whether to try and dive for it.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. It does end up a goal though, and level pegging in terms of Mia Lenihan's goal. A little bit of pinball, balls kind of knocked in, knocked back out, put back in by Waterford, knocked back out by Cork, and eventually just kind of ends at the feet of. She just rifles at home. There's absolutely no stopping that. Surely.
You know what I love? I'm gonna give it to Maeve Williams here. The way they all just pile on the corner. Poor Maeve is the only one that didn't come up. They all just piled on her in the corner, and then the third goal. It's just the ball in. It's a lovely header from Lauren Walsh. Like at 3-1, then at that stage, it's really hard to see Cork coming back. But for Cork conceding 2 goals within 9 minutes, a little bit disappointed to start that second half. You can even see when they concede the second goal, as the players are walking back to the halfway line, you can see some hands on heads, sort of heads down, disappointed. Because I think the bit of pinball should have got rid of it.
I do want to talk about an incident though in this game because I thought the referee had. I thought at the time throughout the game the referee made a couple of poor decisions. I don't like criticizing referees because I know they've a thankless job and all of that goes with that. But I just felt there was a couple of things I just didn't quite understand. There was a ball came in to the Cork goal. Claudia Fitzgerald caught it, cleared it, ball bounced out over the sideline, and the only thing that makes sense to me is that she said she used bad language or profanity or whatever because of the poor kick. Because the ref instantly gave an indirect free kick. It wasn't for holding the ball too long because that, as you mentioned earlier, would have been a corner. It wasn't for handball outside the box because that would have been a direct free kick outside the box. So the only thing that makes sense is that she said something. Now, she was under pressure. A couple of Waterford players had bounced off her, kind of gotten her way when she was preparing to kick it. And with that whole 8-second thing, keepers are a little bit more jumpy at the moment. But I just thought it was a poor decision even if she said something, I don't think it's an indirect free
kick. Breffney, if she said something when she kicked the ball, right? We
Everybody,
hear that all the time.
Everyone does.
We hear it all. Yeah. We hear it all the time.
But importantly, Aaron, for me, the Lauren Walsh doesn't come from the free kick, but the free kick leads to a corner, which then leads to the goal. So you go from 2-1 in possession to 60 seconds later, 90 seconds later, being 3-1 down. That decides the game.
I'm when you shouted back to me earlier, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what it was for, because realistically, if she's used profanity or said something towards somebody, whether it be another player or something like that, it's a red card. It's not a yellow card. But like, if she said something that the ref's not happy and he stops the game, it's a red card. So for him to stop and give a free kick like for that, like,
I think there's different levels of using, and again, apologies to Clodagh if this is not what happened, and if she's not that type of individual. I don't know the girl personally.
I don't think she is. She's only a youngster, and like, even when you look at if
you make a mistake,
when you watch the video
yourself,
I think the entire Cork team is in disbelief.
Yeah,
when you're actually watching,
and rightly so. Like, I think there's a difference between, if you use profanity directed at an individual, then that's different. Then that's actionable, in my opinion. If you make a mistake, like if I fall over or I miscontrol the ball or I put something wide or kick it out over the sideline, like happened in this circumstance, and I go, for F sake, that's very different to F you, and
100%.
I think the second one is actionable: free kick, yellow card, red card, potentially if it's serious. The other one is just frustration, and it's you directed at yourself. Like
I can't see any reason there, even unless I don't. And for being someone so young, I can't imagine she would have sworn on another player. Absolutely can't imagine she would have sworn on another player. But I just can't see anything there that's given him a reason that there's been an actual foul committed. Like, it's just because if she's fouled someone in the box, it's a penalty. When she's trying to get through the bunch of players, it's a penalty. Like we talked about earlier when you mentioned the Amanda McQuillan incident. If it's a foul, if she's fouled somebody in the box, it's a penalty, even if they don't have the ball.
Yeah, 100%. So that for me, I don't like seeing games decided ultimately by those type of decisions. Now, I'm sure the referee could come on and justify, and they probably, by the letter of the law, may be right. But sometimes common sense has to come into these circumstances as well, in my opinion.
It's a confusing one because nobody seems to know what's going on.
Yeah, Waterford, in your opinion, 10 games into the season, 9 points on the board. It's a little bit like Sligo's first year when they kind of were mid-table early on, at the midpoint of the season. Can they be really, really happy with how that maiden voyage has gone for them?
You'd have to be. But it's like you'd have to be. They'd be happy with a lot of aspects of it. They've still shipped some big defeats. Like, you look at the defeat against the 7-0 against Galway, the 4-0 against Athlone. Even when they played Shels earlier in the season, they've been. The one thing I will say is they've been very competitive in the games that have been around them. The teams of that sort of level, they've been very competitive. For them to have 3 wins already, I think Gary Hunt has to be really happy with that. I think that the biggest thing for me is they're like Bohs, except they had players who maybe weren't at the likes of a top underage academy, where we're saying in Shels for the women's side of it. They've had a lot of younger players there who've played a lot of underage football, who are starting to play their senior level, where they're having to build on it. Like, realistically, if you'd have said to me at the start of the year, at this stage, Waterford be on 9 points, I'd have probably said, yeah, go away, give it not a hope.
Or that they wouldn't be in the bottom 3 of the table.
Yeah, I think Gary Hunt will definitely have to be happy with that.
Yeah, another team who are probably on the opposite, bit further down the table than maybe they might have expected, are Peamount in 7th place. They were beaten by DLR, who dragged themselves off the bottom of the table with a 2-1 win. DLR, quite impressive at the weekend. Peamount just not quite at the races, maybe?
I said to you last week, I fancied that that DLR could get something out of this game. Peamount is just one of the most inconsistent teams in the league for me. Peamount of old would have put DLR Waves to the sword. That just shows unfortunately, where Peamount are at this stage. They're unfortunately a mid-table team at the minute. DLR had some good chances. I think Peamount had some good. Peamount were good at the start of the first half, and the start of the second half. Peamount were good. I want to talk about penalty. And Cosgrove's penalty.
Very harsh.
Nobody appealed for it.
It's very harsh.
It is a penalty. For me, it's a penalty because I think her hands, but a letter of the law, it's a penalty.
Yeah, but it's so close range to where the trajectory of the ball changes. Like
it's one of them that
you can't. And it barely skims the ball. It doesn't affect the path of the ball at all.
It's one of them to me, ref. Like you're sort of, when you look at it, you're sort of thinking, like
the letter of the law, you're right. But
the letter, like, so the thing about it is, like, her hand is up here. You know what I mean?
She's leading with the foot, and it's
it's a penalty, but it's a letter of the law. But it's a harsh penalty, and like even. Like, you don't see one DLR. There's one DLR Waves player, actually. Stand corrected. There's one DLR Waves player, and I think it's Rachel Doyle. It's the only DLR Waves player who actually puts the hand up for the penalty. The rest of them, like even Jess Gleeson is running back, sort of thinking, I've scuffed it a little bit. She's running back towards her own goal.
She's celebrating. Jess Gleeson, when she's celebrating back, the two fists come up. Yes. If you watch it again, but I just felt there's no impact in the game. It's no impact in the flight of the ball. It's no impact on anything. It's for me, I think common sense again. Yes, technically by the letter of the law, it's a penalty, but I don't think it's
a good penalty as well.
Very, very good finish. Amber Cosgrove put in just inside the side net and giving really Amanda Budden no chance in that. And then we saw kind of a different DLR, a second half version of DLR, and it was just. They just seem to be able to compete, and they forced a couple of chances. A good opportunity for.
It's four wins if you include the FAI Cup game where they beat Sligo.
Yeah,
it's four wins and 3 wins in the last 4 games.
Yeah,
like it's not. It's the one thing I would say about DLR that's probably to give them a lot of credit is they've cut out a lot of the mistakes. That was the biggest thing. Defensively, they were killed at the back. Defensively, like I say that, but I think the goal they conceded is preventable when Bandana saves it and Splanders fires home. Like even before I think it's Sive Doyle has a shot. Like Sive Doyle just turns past the defender and sort of creates that bit of space. Like she probably shouldn't be allowed to turn like that inside the box. But I think for me, the DLR Waves character was probably what was on show because, you know, at that stage, 15 minutes left, it's 1-1. Peamount probably could have taken over, could have won the game. They had chances. Peamount had chances from distance, but they were from distance, and that's probably what, when you look at DLR, it's like earlier in the season, they would have probably coughed up a clear carbon opportunity for someone to come through and go. Whereas in this game, I think they were very good after the goal when they equalised. Let's talk about the goal that won the game.
Because it's a free kick, long distance. I think Rachel Doyle is standing over it. Jess Gleeson standing over it. Roll to Gleeson. It's so it's very simple. It's not quite. It's not elaborate.
You think Gleeson's just going to bury you.
And it takes a deflection, which really takes a lot of the sting out of it and doesn't affect that much. But
it actually comes out. I think it comes out. So the two players on one on either side of the end of the wall sort of break away, right? And Mary Phillips, and I don't know who the other one is, breaks away. And then there's like a wall of tree and it hits the middle of the tree.
I think it's Lorna Callahan.
But then like the pace is gone. But for me,
Budden should be saving that.
Budden should be saving that.
Yeah, and I think again we're seeing a circumstance just like Shels. I think the goalkeepers are actually the difference in the game. I thought Eve Badana, who again we've talked about on the show, has not had the best of years. Maybe the last 12 months have not been her career highlights. I thought she was outstanding. I thought she was really, really good at everything she did at the weekend. And I think her performance and Amanda Budden just maybe being off a little bit, particularly on that the winning goal, was the difference between the two teams. I think if the keepers are. If Budden is on her game and Badan is not, I think it's 2 or 3-1 to Peamount in that particular clash.
Yeah, but it's like it's just like it's a massive changing of the guard. Like I said to you earlier, I said to you before we start recording, was it 2017? That's the last time, and it was UCD Waves at that stage had beaten Peamount United. I need to double check that, but like they haven't beaten Peamount in quite a while. They've got close. Like even look at the result earlier in the season when they played in PRL Park. Waves walked away from that game after losing, probably thinking they should have got something out of that game where they lost 3-2. I think they led twice in that game. So, well, sorry, they beat DLR in the league last. They beat Peamount in the league last year in the bowl. But like that's the sort of thing. Like they're in games now a lot more, and I think they will finish top of that pile of Waterford, Cork, Sligo, and themselves. I think they will. They've enough to get top of that pile.
Well, let's take a look at the league table at the moment, and of course we have. Sorry, let me bring up here. We have Athlone top of the pile, 4 points ahead of Shels after Athlone's win and Shels' defeat at the weekend. Galway, they also picked up 3 points at the weekend. Wexford dropping beneath them into 4th place, while Shamrock Rovers keeping in touch with those two at least. 21 points there from their 11 games so far. Treaty, despite the defeat, still in the top half of the table, and a little bit of a gap back to Peamount on 13 points side by side with their Dublin rivals. Bohs.
You said something to me earlier when we were talking about. I don't know if you said it on air or off air when we were talking about the rearranged fixtures. They still have to announce that rearranged fixture between Shels and Athlone. Shels have to beat Athlone twice now in the league.
Yeah,
there's no if, buts, or maybes.
Yeah, and that other game that's outstanding, Galway and Peamount, is also outstanding. Has not been announced in terms of when that's going to be as well. But I think we spoke about it off air. We suspect that given that Galway are out of the FAI Cup and Peamount are at home to Athlone, there's a reasonable chance that Peamount may not progress, and it might create an opportunity the weekend of the Cup semi-finals to reschedule that. And I'd say that's when we will see that.
You know, you're going up in the Peamount dressing room for that game instead of me for a change.
Well, I didn't say they're definitely going to lose. I just said there's a realistic chance that they may not progress.
You rather than me this week.
That's very, very different. But listen, if we can help motivate the players, we'll take that any day of the week. At the bottom, that group that you spoke about, Waterford, Cork, DLR, Sligo. DLR off the bottom of the table for the first time in a long time. I'm not sure if it's the first time this season, but it's definitely the first time in a while. Sligo dropping to the bottom despite being 2-0 up early on at halftime in that game against Galway at the weekend. But we're seeing some promising stuff from teams at all range. Like if you look at that bottom of the table, Bohs won, Waterford won, DLR won. Cork could have won. They weren't out of their depth against Waterford, and Sligo 2-0 up at halftime. So we're seeing teams at the bottom of the table been able to compete with anybody in the league, really, which in any given week means we have a little bit of uncertainty, which is much nicer than we've had in recent seasons.
Well, I'm going to throw you on the spot.
Go on.
Since you love doing it to me, most teams have played 11 games, bar 3 of them have played 10.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the top 3 at the end of the year?
I think Athlone win the league. Barring an absolute capitulation, I think they're going to probably bring in a player or two, if my sources are correct, this side of the Champions League, who will be there for the rest of the season. And as long as they stay for the rest of the season, I think they will be stronger than they have been, which is scary for the rest of the league. After that, it's going to be a real challenge. I actually think we're going to see Shamrock Rovers go on a bit of a run. I think Rovers could potentially end up 3rd in this table and probably Shels 2nd, but probably a bit of a distance between them and Athlone. And I don't think Galway or Wexford are going to be too far behind. I think.
So then let me ask you this follow-up question. Can Rovers beat Shels in the FAI Cup quarterfinal?
Yes. I think anyone in this league can beat anybody in this league in any competition. And I do genuinely believe that. Now, it would need, in certain cases, one team to be absolutely 100% performance and others to be off the boil.
So I'm going to go back to the Shels performance at the weekend for a second, right? Just because you've said that. I said, leaving Talca Park, I was saying to people, Bohs didn't have to be better than a 6 out of 10 on Saturday to beat Shels. Wow. Whereas we normally have to expect Bohs to be an 8, 9 out of 10.
Forget the dressing room. You're in the Shels WhatsApp group in about 15 seconds.
Well, listen, they were so poor in midfield. They were so poor on the ball. For me, Bohs didn't have to do anything special.
You're barred. I'm going to save Shels the hassle of contacting you. You're just barred from Talca Park.
I gave ice creams out on Saturday.
Never
Actually,
get an interview ever again. But
no,
yeah,
Owen Williams was honest with me to say that it's the only one bad performance they've had this year. You know what I mean? And they were probably due a bad performance at sometimes, but it just shows without Alex Kavanagh, Shels will struggle against the big teams without Alex Kavanagh.
They're a different proposition. She really does open up games in a massive way for them. This weekend, of course, we have around the games: Bohs and Waterford, Sligo Rovers, Wexford, Cork, Treaty, Peamount, and Shels. For a long time in this league, been one of the highlight games of the season. Shamrock Rovers and DLR Waves, and Athlone and Galway. Some real good crackers there in terms of teams playing teams at their level. Like Bohs Waterford be a good clash, Cork Treaty a good Munster derby, Peas Shels, Athlone Galway United would all be fairly evenly matched going into those games. And even DLR on the form they're in.
Bohs and Waterford be evenly matched?
Well, they're near enough to each other on the league table. I think they're only one space apart in the league table. Waterford win that, they're within a point. So, I think Waterford could beat Bohs given current form. You'd fancy Bohs, but you never know. You're not convinced.
No, I think Bohs should. But if Bohs have any dreams of getting further up the table, they have to be beating Waterford. But I think the Waterford performance that they put in Saturday add to the performance. They were decent against Shamrock Rovers in the FAI Cup as well. I'm not 100% sure they can beat Bohs, but I'm definitely convinced that they can put a performance in that's worth taking note of.
Okay, fair. I'll give you that. In terms of the other games this weekend, where will you be yourself?
Stuck where I am right now. Unfortunately, I'm in the day job the weekend, so there'll be no game for me. Thankfully, with the fact that some rearranged games, I may actually get to see Waterford next Tuesday Tuesday week against Shamrock Rovers. But for me, I will be glued to Athlone and Galway.
Yeah,
that's the one game for me. I'll say to you, I think Bohs will win. I think Wexford will win. Treaty will win. Shels will win. Shamrock Rovers will win, and Athlone are going to win. Does
that give Athlone the league title if they can pull that off?
No, I think the results against the Shels games are massive. I still think, I think these games, like I'll be out to say, but these games are perfect for Athlone right now. The fact that Athlone have had to play Wexford last week, have to play Galway this week. They then play Treaty next week before playing Champions League. They've got a run of competitive football. I think this is probably the ideal preparation for Athlone going to the Champions League.
Before we wrap up the show, we do have to talk about something else. We've given a lot of stick to clubs and commentary in the last few weeks in terms of no show for commentary, which does affect the product in terms of LOI TV. This week, great to hear so many female voices on the commentary. Your thoughts on a couple of sentences. Shels, of course, after 2 weeks of no commentary, had Shauna Cook and their head of the academy, whose name escapes me right now.
Kevin Murphy,
that's it. I thought they were really good. They gave a really good insight into the game. Horribly biased, and I thought the only true thing that, not the only true thing that's unfair, but the truest thing that Shauna Cook said at the weekend was definitely when she said that, everyone listening is going to say I'm saying this just because I support Shels. And yeah, you're right. It was exceptionally biased. But, you expect that. 90% of the League of Ireland fans and League of Ireland commentators are ridiculously biased towards their own clubs. And I get that. That's what you expect. But for me, the highlight of the weekend was the goalkeepers union down in Galway. Jane Murren and Jessica Berlin chatting about we got insight into daily life in Galway United women's team, with who's living with who and who's housemates and roommates with who, and it was just, I really enjoyed it. It was utterly unprofessional in some respects, but brilliant. And I just had them on in the background when there was other games on. Even it was just fun.
Do you know what? Sometimes the personalities make the product more than the actual professionalism.
Yeah, like we know where Jane Murren's family are moving to and stuff like that. Move from Wicklow into Dublin. Like we got the full life story, but it was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it's not something you could probably put out every week in terms of that quality. We did see it from very similar to the week before in, was it Chloe Singleton was doing it in Athlone the week before?
Obviously, and Kerry Ann Brown.
Yeah, and like it's, do you know what, from a fan of the league's point of view, I love getting that insight because you're getting a good long 90 to 110 or so minutes of an insight into these players, what makes them tick, what their personality is like. And yeah, it was car crash at times, but it was absolutely brilliant, and you couldn't turn them off. Like, it was just funny. And yeah, again, no more than Shauna Cook earlier, utterly biased, celebrating when Galway scored and when their friend scored. But you could see that the camaraderie in the squad came through in the two girls. I know Jessica's in Iceland now; she's not with Galway anymore, but obviously visiting and ended up on commentary duty. So, but lovely to hear kind of that kind of side of the league coming through and showing us a bit more of these players, and rather than just names on team sheets or images on social media.
So I have an interesting take, and I think this is good in the sense of, as you say, getting to know the players. But if I turned around to a random League of Ireland fan or a random Ireland fan and showed them an image of players,
oh yeah,
I showed 10 random images, they might pick out 2.
I wouldn't even think they'd get to.
I don't think we tell the stories.
If it's 10 random, it's 0, and it's probably 0 all day.
I don't think many people know the stories, the characters, the people behind their league. And
apart from the 1,000 or so who listen to our podcast every week, they know it because we try to bring it to you. But it's very under promoted, and I don't think that's the fault of the FAI. Maybe it is the fault of the FAI, but it's not for the want to try and with the available resources that are there, because they do make an effort. But I don't think it's fair to say that.
I actually found the
for me,
the Maria Reynolds joke the other week that the FAI done, where they went out to where she was from, and she was walking along, they were asking questions. Got a little bit of insight into her. The problem is the capacity of how often to do these sort of things just isn't there.
Yeah, and that is the problem. It's just the lack of resources to do that. And I suppose I'm involved with the IRFU on that end of things. And again, it's just time and money is just not there to support the work that goes in, because it's not just a 4 or 5 minute, 6 minute video that you see produced on YouTube. It takes days to put that together for that specific type of thing, and the coordination and the time.
That's why I won't. That's why I'm glad I just do post-match interviews. That's just put a watermark on it and away you go. But even that, like, and people don't realize, like,
it takes time.
It takes time to even just put a word and upload it. It's not as if grand social media, I fast Wi-Fi in social media, but it still takes a lot of time to sort of do these sort of things.
You mentioned as well, you're at a game at 1:30 for a 4 o'clock kickoff. So if you start adding in all that time to get that 90-second video on your socials, takes you 4 or 5 hours on match day just to be at the game, to watch it, to know what questions to ask.
Yeah,
because that's half the battle too. I know it's as easy to go.
Like, I got home, Andy was at me the weekend, and he's right in what he was saying. He was like, because I was trying to get Alban Heise, who had the leg, unfortunately.
I was setting you up for that now, because I know you're mad.
But I won't give the reason. I won't.
Oh, I think you should, now that you've mentioned it. Now you can't leave the listeners.
I can't. I'll leave that to be thing. But like even that, like, so it was 20 past 6.
It's not bad. In case you think
it's not bad. It was still parking. Having to move the car or having to something along them lines is what the official word that was given from Bohs after I wanted to interview him after a big win. But like, for me, 6:15, I think we left Talca Park. So like, you're then getting home. But like, even at that, like, we left so early because of the fact that the Gaelic football was on.
Yeah.
Like, and you imagine, like, even, like, I know Galway had trouble the other week getting into Talca Park with, I think it was Gaelic football or hurling on. The place was manic as well.
Surely, like, at some point in the like, maybe it's a case of, well, we just give Shels away games in July. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we know there's going to be big semi-finals in hurling and
But
football.
even then, Oasis is probably on another big thing, or the concerts in Croke Park.
These
But
things
like
are
the other,
6 or 12 months out. Like it's not the hardest thing in the world to go, do you know what? Yeah, it's a bit unnatural in terms of that, but maybe we just don't give Shels a home game on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon even.
if there's a concert on or a big game.
Or like just the whole month of July, we know it's going to be All Ireland finals, All Ireland semi-finals, week to week to week, probably for 4 to 6, definitely 4 weeks, maybe even 6 to 8 weeks. So you just schedule them. The All Ireland finals are fixed. You just don't put Shels at home those weeks, or you maybe play Friday night or late on the Saturday. At least, like if it's late, probably doesn't work either. But or go early, like go 12 o'clock, play against a Bohs, a Dublin team at 12 o'clock. You're in Talca Park before the hordes start arriving. Like so, it's just about planning, and maybe sometimes
they're in a bit of a unique situation compared to any other club, just where they're based in terms of national state. But national
those are affected to a little extent, but Shels massively because of the major avenues to those games, whether it's Drumcondra Road or whether it's in through Santry, down through Santry or whatever. They're chock-a-block. Like even going to, I know you're slagging me, but going to gigs in Dublin, trying to find parking on the outskirts of Dublin at a park and ride to get into the city because of the All Ireland hurling semi-final is an absolute disaster. Like so, we got sent all over the place to get parking. Got sorted in the end, but just about. So, you can't legislate for that on a plan to get a team into a game. Just can't do it.
Anyway, some interesting transfer moves in the last couple of days, just in terms of because Ireland players. Tyler Tolan signed for Durham, and Erin McLaughlin's gone to Glasgow, as well as Grace Maloney gone to Sunderland.
Great to see Grace Maloney back with a contract, because the last 6 months has been a bit of a vacuum for her since she left London City at the end of at Christmas. So yeah, it needed to be. She needed to get that resolved, or it should have started affecting her international career. So good to see her back. Marissa Shiva, of course, back with Sunderland. She joined at the very tail end of last season, so she'll be with them this season. I think her contract runs to the end of this year at least. So interesting times ahead for a couple of Irish players, but even locally, a couple of big names as well. We've seen Ciara Maher has moved from Peamount. She's gone down to Wexford, so she'll be part of their push up the table for her. Big move for Ciara.
Interesting move. Hasn't played a lot of football in the last year or so. Sort of hasn't played for Peamount in a while. Wasn't in the Wexford squad on the weekend. I think she'll find it difficult to get a starting place in Wexford. And it's a lot of trouble if you're not going to be potentially in the starting lineup week in, week out. For me, be interesting to see.
Yeah, we mentioned Dana Sheriff moving to Slavia Prague. And there was another one that caught my attention during the week, and that was the welcome to Carla McManus, who I'm not even going to try and pronounce the club that she's joined, but it's Odysseus Mushgatu. Is that Russian?
They're Cyprus.
Okay.
Greek, sorry, Greek.
Like it's a different kind of decision to go to Greece, but like you can't fault it. I think football, particularly in the women's game, girls need to be realistic about what they can get out of the game back. And most people play for the pleasure of it, and that's fine. But there is a professional level and people who aspire to get to that level. And I suppose for people who you can use that as an opportunity to go and live in different parts of the world. Like if you want to go and live in Cyprus for a year, go live in Spain, like we saw Becky Casson did last season. Like you can go and use your football to open doors. You can get part-time jobs over there to support it if it's not a full-time professional gig. You're not going to be rich from it, let's be honest, but the life experience you can get from spending a year, like you talk about the likes of Erin McLaughlin, she's had a year in Portsmouth. She was at Portsmouth, wasn't it? And then she went to now she's in Glasgow. So you're seeing kind of these girls getting the opportunity. Now maybe Portsmouth or Glasgow might not be the cities you'd pick to go live in, but you got to make hay while the sun shines. Portsmouth's quite a nice city, actually. Been in it once. But Glasgow now I'd take or leave, but that's a different story. Football opportunities are definitely good.
Glasgow's a nice. I've liked Glasgow when I've been there.
It's all right. Anyway, we're moving away quickly and swiftly from the League of Ireland women's discussion. A massive set of games this weekend. There's 3 or 4 absolutely whetting the appetite for anyone to get along to go to a game we do want to see more people at the games and kind of supporting the girls as they play. So wherever you find yourself this weekend, do take the opportunity to hopefully enjoy what will still be good weather and get out and watch a ladies football game at the weekend. I better not say ladies football. That might get me in trouble with the Gaelic heads. A women's soccer match, if you'd like to watch, that'll get me in trouble with everybody as well. I'm just getting myself in trouble all over the place. We might as well both get hung up in dressing rooms all over the country this weekend. Aaron, thanks again for joining me. We're way over time, but I had a bit of fun this week, and we'll be back with you again next week to talk about an exciting weekend's action. Talk to you then.